I can go over it again.
Sound check.
Check. Can you
Hello,
hear me?
testing.
Okay,
Testing.
there we go. Oh, yeah, we're good. Okay. I'm
Do we need
glad
to
we
start
caught
over?
that in the first 5 minutes instead of far later.
Okay, I can start over.
Yeah, you are a master.
Yes,
Yeah,
I got my I finished up my master's degree.
yeah.
Woo!
So master in teaching, very very nice. Um, was a very stressful project. Like 46 pages. Had to do a whole presentation. Um, nailed it. Was very happy about it. I freaking was dead tired, sleeping the entirety of the following day. So glad I got that out of the way. And because I got that out of the way, got to go and play video games. And one of which being Baldur's Gate 3, which memory leak problem plus I don't know, it just runs worse. The game itself runs worse when you're on controller, it seems.
Huh. That's weird.
Yeah. I noticed it was running much better when I'm on mouse and keyboard.
Okay, I'm wondering why that might be. It might be the fact that it has mouse and keyboard as default of what it wants to be played as, and then controller it has an extra step of thinking, okay, how the fuck do I translate that to controller buttons? Maybe, I don't know. I'm not exactly
They
a
are
programmer, so I don't know.
the devs are throwing out constant hot fixes though,
Yeah.
so I'm sure that it will be in a much better state soon. Because there are people who have really powerful PCs who are reporting the same problems that I'm having, especially with the memory leak and everything. But it is a really good game. Lots of ways you can solve different problems. Being creative is always fun. You can't pick through that door. Oh, too bad. Let's blow it up. you know. Um, it's. I had somebody was in a cage. They were trapped, and their captor set the cage on fire. So I called I used magic call Sleet Storm and put out the fire. Just because I had a spell scroll on me, which it does a lot to make. There's a lot of changes in there compared to like base fifth edition Dungeons and Dragons that make the game feel much better. And I'm like, I'm gonna steal this over here and that over there, just because for my own D&D games.
Yeah, it's fair. That
Obviously,
is
not,
the main compliment of that game that I've heard is you can kind of solve your way around a lot of problems in a lot of really interesting ways.
Yeah, the ethos of the Baldur's Gate series from its inception in 1999, I want to say, was, hey, we want to recreate the feel of a tabletop experience, like top to bottom. And in the first game, I would say it mostly achieved that. Like, there were definitely some limitations in terms of what it was actually capable of replicating, like, but for the most part, it did really fit in with the kind of oddball things you can often find in a tabletop game, just because it's a lot of, let's say, enthusiastic amateurs just sort of putting a story together, and you get some weird shit that comes out of that kind of thing. Yeah. So I'm kind of amazed at how much that concept has evolved, and that a developer has actually still tried to do that, and not only tried to do that with modern tools and capabilities, but actually succeeded in terms of giving the player the options that they probably would have in a tabletop game and letting them act on them.
like, say for example, okay, one of the best things in this game is that at any point you can just hit the jump action, and that can let you move from place to place, move to places you might not be able to go to. It lets you jump over your own allies in combat to get to a place, you know, get better positioning. And it's stuff like that. The throw option
Yep.
I learned from an enemy that I could just throw healing potions at my allies to heal them.
I've heard about that, yeah.
And that's amazing. Because the healing potion shatters upon taking damage upon hitting somebody, so it just heals them. So that's
After
why you
doing
have,
8 points of damage.
yeah.
Catch it in your mouth. The healing will be more than the damage from the glass shards. It's fine.
So, um, it's great. I love what they've done here. I want to play more of it, assuming the performance actually holds up. I also played another game, which I might have. I remember Casey had talked about this, and Casey had negative things to say about it. So I tried out Honkai Star Rail.
Oh, okay. What are your thoughts?
I actually really enjoy it.
Okay.
I like the characters, and there is something in the story that I do not like in regards to the conclusion of the first major world.
Which one? The space station or the ice one?
The ice one.
Okay, I didn't finish the ice one, so I can't really speak to that.
I caught up to where the content is currently at, and I really like playing the game. I feel like it's fun to play. I'm enjoying where the story is going, and yeah, no. I saw they added this character called Kafka. I thought she's hot. I'm going to try this game, and then I tried this game and I got Kafka. So, freaking losing the pity and having to forcibly grind. But this game's much more generous than Genshin, so there has that going for it.
Well, Genshin was much more generous in the first year or so than it is now.
Oh, does it get progressively more grindy over time?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be the way of games like that.
But yeah, so far, I enjoy that game. I need to though, and here's the thing: I need to read all the documents I've picked up because I have not been doing that.
I did do that, and I had no idea what the story was. So. Yeah, as a counterpoint, like, you enjoyed it, fair enough. I could not. I would probably say my tolerance for turn-based JRPGs has probably completely evaporated in terms of just how they used to be. Like, if you want to do a turn-based JRPG, it has to feel as fluid and snappy as Persona 5 does. Because if you want to do this fucking slow shit with forcing me to watch all these flashy special ultimate animation, I don't give a shit. I've watched this 50 times. I don't care. So, yeah.
They do have the double speed option.
So it takes 4 seconds per animation instead of 8. Cool.
I get you.
Yeah. So
I do appreciate the turbo mode in Disgaea games where it's just like no animation plays, just damage numbers happen. That's it.
Yeah, there is a certain point where you're just fucking sick of it. I get it. We're not in Final Fantasy VII. This stuff isn't mind blowing anymore. Just fucking get on with it.
See,
that's my opinion, and if you enjoy it, then absolutely more power to you. Same as Zelda.
It's kind of the thing where like I'm half like, on the one hand, I do have I completely understand that fatigue of turn-based RPGs, which is why I've been avoiding them for a long period of time. So I'm kind of not as burnt out as I used to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So plus I can just daily grind, just do the auto battle, have it on a separate screen or whatever. It's fine. Um, so low effort to do daily stuff, I guess. Makes it nice. And I really, really like the roguelike mode that they have in there. It's just genuinely a lot of fun for me.
That's Herta's thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried that. It's basically a condensing of everything I don't like about the game. So,
Hey, everybody's gonna feel differently. But yeah, so Baldur's Gate 3, really good. Performance not so great. Honkai Star Rail, I just really enjoy that. And I also saw a movie just the other day, like literally yesterday. Actually, it was like 2 days ago. I saw The Blue Beetle.
Oh, good. Okay.
I didn't even know that film was in production yet, because I heard that was a thing that James Gunn wanted to do when he took over the studio. But I guess no, that was just a thing that they were working on for a long time. So, all right.
I really like The Blue Beetle, the movie. It is a very good movie.
That's good.
It is not going to make back its money.
I mean, that's been true of superhero movies for a while. They're making progressively less money. Like,
And
part of it's because they keep costing so much money.
DC haven't exactly made a lot of money on their movies anyway. But not to cast aspersions on your opinion, Zero, but you have said that was a genuinely good movie for a lot of very questionable movies.
I have. And then I usually later on go, I retract my statement. In this case, what I really liked was that it had a lot of heart to it,
Okay.
Because the main focus is on the Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes' family and his relationship with them. And they are an adorable family. I love the family so much. This whole Latino family. And I'm a fourth Mexican, and I whenever his dad would speak, he reminded me of my grandpa, which was kind of nostalgic for me. But basic premise. There's this Cord Industries that is trying to use the Scarab to create a hyper advanced super machine army that they can sell to people.
That's playing a little fast and loose with the canon, but okay, movies versus comics, that's fine.
And ends up in the hands of one poor Latino family and Jaime Reyes, and it chooses him. And it's a very funny movie. I will say that. Like, a lot of the entire audience was laughing at parts.
I am going to take a stab in the dark. Excuse me. I'm going to take a stab in the dark and say that it takes some cues from Venom.
A little bit. A little bit, yeah.
Voice inside of his head, buddy cop thing going on of like, hey, you should do some fucked up shit. And he's like, no.
There is a bit of that with the suit having its own voice and then talking to him. Though it's not quite the full back and forth banter of Venom, because in that Venom is the major character, right? In this, the focus is more spread out among the his crazy conspiracy theorist uncle, his grandma, his sister, his mom, his dad, And then even with Cord, you have the the CEO and her niece who was rebelling against her and doesn't agree with what she's doing, and
Okay.
so on and so forth. There's a very strong theme of family.
Yeah, all right. Just everything you say about Cord Industries is like, what? But okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I got kind of an Ant-Man-ish feel from some things in it. In terms of some plot stuff that comes up. But I would recommend this movie. It had a lot of heart. My voice cracked.
Yeah,
It had a lot of heart, and that's something that I haven't seen in a lot of DC cinematic universe, whatever movies.
Martha, etc. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which there's literally no reference to any DC characters except being like, well, Superman can fly. I can fly now? What, something like that. They briefly like just name drop Superman to be like he exists in this setting, but
I mean that's fair. If you got powers, I'm sure you would name drop the local hero. So
yeah, the big guy on TV all the time, So yeah, it is disconnected in a good way. I want more movies that are like this, that are more standalone. Because that's when the characters really shine, Like I really liked the most recent Batman movie, The Batman, with Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
And I did not like the more I think about the Flash movie, the more I dislike it. The more it unravels in my mind. And we got the Aquaman movie coming up too, so there's that to look forward to.
That is the thing.
Poor Jason Momoa. I feel so bad.
Poor Jason Momoa.
Man did nothing wrong.
Yep. Did nothing wrong, but he's literally getting beat up from every direction.
It's like, it's a weird circumstance of like, there's this big franchise, but all of the main actors are like sort of in this limbo state that you'd expect from the big corporation is doing a round of layoffs. Who's going to get the axe? Who's going to get the axe? It's weird. It's not the kind of thing you expect to see for a gigantic movie franchise.
Yeah. It's
almost like are they going to make me train my replacement kind of thing.
The era of big superhero movies is long over, but they're still making them.
I wouldn't say it's long over, but it's definitely over.
I guess it depends on the definition of long.
I mean, there's definitely some that are still making their money back, more than making the money back and being big successes, so it's still around, but maybe we should pivot a little bit to something we haven't seen 100 times. Is it 100 times at this point? It could easily be 100 times at this point.
That's kind of the thing
feels
with
like it.
That's kind of the thing with the Blue Beetle is I do enjoy the movie, it's not something I like. I've seen this stuff before, I've seen these tropes before. It's not unique in that aspect. And that's probably why it's not going to, word of mouth is not going to spread news about the Blue Beetle, because the Blue Beetle has nothing that makes it stand out in that regard. is about as classic a superhero story as you can get.
I'm currently counting. I've gone through 5 heroes, and we're over 20 already. So it could very easily be 400.
Yep.
This is really depressing.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. Okay. Anything else, Zero?
That's it for me.
Cool. I would like to go next because I have stuff to talk about that I would like Zero to be here for to discuss with me.
Okay, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So first things first. The easiest one, Hollow Cure, had an update. That game is going to destroy my entire life. It is too good of a game. I would like to.
What is it, by the way?
Sorry?
What is Hollow Cure?
Vampire Survivors, but good.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
They added in a whole bunch of extra stuff with the recent update.
Yeah, they added an Animal Crossing mode.
All right.
With housing and fishing and raising animals and stuff, yeah?
Raising fans. Not quite
okay.
Animals.
Oh.
I mean, what's the difference, really?
It's basically the same thing. You bring in some fans and they give you money sometimes, so it's basically what VTubing is. That's how that works. You know.
That's pretty close.
Yeah. You don't usually pen them into a fenced off area and have them wander around occasionally throwing money at you, but you know, they're very similar.
It's just a more literal interpretation.
A little bit, yeah. So, yeah, that's a really good game, and I'm going to play a lot more of it. But I am actively not playing it because I know what that experience is. I would like some new experiences. That is where I am on that one. I could absolutely play another fucking 50 hours of that game, but there are other games that exist that do new things. I'd say speaking of which...
Was the new content not enough to change up the experience, or...?
I mean, it's more of the experience that it already... It's a 0.6 update. It's just like, hey, there's more of the game now, which is fine, and I'm happy with, but, you know... So yeah, I would say, speaking of different experiences and something new, but it's not actually that new, Guardian Tales is a gacha game that Zero recommended on the last episode of the podcast that came out like a month ago.
Have you fallen down that rabbit hole?
Oh boy. So that game does some things. That game does some things that are questionable in terms of narrative choices. Yet somehow I can't knock it for any of them, really.
Okay.
So, basic gameplay. It's classic Zelda. It's just classic Zelda, up and down. It's run around the map, collect the collectible stuff, and solve little puzzles that involve block pushing or getting electrical charge to pass through different pylons, or like jumping puzzles, that sort of thing. It's very good. That part of the game is excellent, and they have put a lot of effort into it. Usually, mobile games that supposedly have that level of gameplay included in them tend to be just like there's like 3 levels of it and the rest of it is just the generic boring crap of party fucking auto battle combat shit. But no, this is just actually interesting stuff with puzzles and characters and interesting dynamics and doing cool things with the story and all that kind of stuff that makes a game.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of fun with just playing the game, and I absolutely recommend it on those merits alone.
Yeah, that's fair.
It is still a gacha game, so beware of that. But in terms of it being a gacha, it's actually fairly reasonable and fair as well. So it's worth mentioning that. But it is still a gacha and has gacha problems. In terms of the story, so the main narrative thrust is there are invaders that basically just destroy the kingdom that you are a soldier of in the intro of the game. And there are a bunch of refugees that have been displaced as a result of that. And, the main thrust of the game is you fighting against these invaders that are just called invaders because no one really knows what the fuck they are. And towards the most recent content, I still continue to not really know what they are, except they're doing the one thing that I really, really, really love more than anything else in a story. But we won't go into that. So, yeah, the people of this kingdom are now refugees. And you're going around trying to gather people to mount a counterattack and, kick them the fuck out and kill them. There is a lot of death in this game, and they don't really fuck about with it. Bad shit happens a lot.
I mean, if the kingdom you're in gets decimated in the prologue, yeah, I think that sets the tone nicely.
Yeah, but that's just very macro of just, hey, a big bad thing is happening, but we don't really have to see the little bad things that are happening as part of that big bad thing happening. No, we absolutely see all the little things of that big bad thing happening. We get to see the people get fucking murdered and tortured and just sort of actually put in... We'll get there. So, there is a point in the game where... I think it's World 8, which is the Snow Kingdom. And that is basically a story about racial divides. And how one side really, really hates the other side for past prejudices of some person being really shitty. And you get in the middle of a very delicate situation, which it turns out has been orchestrated by a guy that is basically Snow Hitler.
Oh.
I am not even kidding. He is setting up a pogrom to fucking kill all of the dog people. There are dog people. They're called Inuits, as in, like, Inu, dog. Inuits. Get it? Yeah. He just wants all of them to die, and for him to be set up as king for life. And so he uses racial tensions to just sort of put himself in a position of power so he can get all of the other snow people to kill all the dog people. That's actually not that strange. As far as such things go, that's actually pretty normal, really. There is a big bad dude who is using racial tensions and he's manipulating people, and then you beat the bad guy and everything gets revealed and everything's okay. Nope. Snow people are the fucking worst. Holy shit. Like, you end that story and it's just like, oh, that guy was a real douche. We don't really care, though. We still hate the dog people, so fuck you.
Yeah, it's not a clean resolution.
No, and it continues... So far, it continues to not be a clean resolution, and all the people that helped you just kind of have to leave because everyone are such dickbags. And it's like... You are leaving this shitty place with the 5 people who are actually decent human beings, figuratively speaking. Yeah. So that was a turn. that was the lesser turn as far as the story goes. Because the next world is the world where you get put in a fucking concentration camp.
What?
Yep. Remember how
That was a jump.
Remember how I said at the beginning that the invaders just sort of murked the kingdom you're from, and there are a bunch of refugees?
Yeah.
You go to a different place, the Ra Empire, I think it's called, and it's just, you're going through a security checkpoint of, taking people in, so they can travel into the Empire, and you get taken aside after a security screening when they realize where you're from. And then over a fairly lengthy sequence, they try and capture you and eventually succeed, and you are put in a concentration camp to work as a miner. Yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing a trend in the themes here, so I mean, I can't say it's off-brand.
There was an interesting thing about that whole thing historically of the concentration camps of how it was a lot of the quote unquote undesirables of the villains of World War II doing some dirt, and as part of that, to make life easier for the villains of World War II, they would basically promote their incarcerated people to be supervisors of the other incarcerated people.
Yeah.
Guess what you get to play as?
Oh. Is that something you have to play out?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm gonna long story short this for you. The plot of this world is basically teaching the princess of this empire that it's bad to be Hitler.
You need to look at what's actually happening here, princess. This is a bad thing. This is a bad thing.
It's a whole thing. You are promoted to supervisor, and you go around with her looking at all of these things that are problems with why is the labor camp not being as efficient as it could be? And it's like, oh, the guards are being abusive to these people who are working for no money. Oh, we're not feeding them. Oh, that sucks. We should probably fix that and give them food. And resting more than 3 hours a night, that's also bad. That's not very efficient for running an indentured servant labor camp. So let's fix that too. Yay! Everything is so much better now in this indentured servant labor camp. And then the minister, the prime minister or whatever he is, comes along and he's like, hey, can I get a few volunteers from this indentured servant labor camp? And she's like, sure. And they go off. And then she realizes where they're going. That's the direction of the execution chamber.
Oh, great.
So she's like, oh, that's pretty bad. We should probably go and stop that, because enslaving all these people is fine, but killing them is a bit much, I think. So maybe we should stop that. You fail, and this invokes some, let's say, dissatisfaction around the indentured servants. And over the course of that, she realizes, hey, there's not much difference in practicality between the indentured servant thing and the execution thing. Everyone's fucking miserable, and they're all kind of ready to die anyway, because what's the fucking difference? And then she realizes it's bad to be Hitler, and decides to stop.
That's what it took? Christ.
Yeah, that. Like I say, it's very, very questionable how they decided to handle this. But also, it doesn't really shy away from the horror of all of it. Like, there is a
Sounds like
point.
it fully kind of embraces it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
kind of. Like, there is a point where, the whole execution thing happens, and you have to go back to work the next day as a supervisor of these people, and they just decide to attack you. They have no weapons, no nothing, and you have no choice but to just fucking put them down. They run
Wow.
away after, so
Yeah.
you do it non-lethally, but still, that was one of the darkest moments of any video game I have ever played.
I
So
mean,
that
it
sounds
doesn't get
sounds
much darker
bad.
than that.
And aside from the problem I have with it, which is the fact that it just plays the generic, electro rock kind of music for fight music that it does for every other fight in the game, that just also made it kind of bleaker of just, wow, holy shit, this is way too dark for this music. But also the fact that it's just playing this music actually makes it way darker. And I just kind of had to sit there staring at the screen listening to this really, really unsettling music play. And I'm just like, man, I need to stop and take a breather and actually fucking talk about this because this is just raw. This is so fucking raw, but also so effective. Like,
Yeah.
I can say how fucked up all of this is, but I still have to give credit for it being effective in just sort of conveying the horror of that kind of thing. And it's all in this chibi art style, and the music is generally upbeat, and it's all very cutesy, except when you realize exactly how horrifying everything that's happening is. And that's kind of a prelude to the next world, which is just... This game made me cry. Entirely unironically, I cried at a part of this game.
Yeah.
This cutesy
same.
game that is like classic Legend of Zelda in sort of aesthetic and gameplay, and it's all very cutesy, and you have just yeah. I 100% back Zero's recommendation for this game. Absolutely. It is a fantastic experience, and I recommend everyone try it.
And it is continuously, the writing is just extremely effective. Even going on to past where Casey is, they have kind of what they call season 1 and then season 2. So right now the game is in season 2. Casey is near the end of season 1.
I finished that.
Oh, you finished it?
I didn't go as far as I actually went. I stopped because I don't want to spoil things.
Okay.
I finished season 1. It was the alternate ending of season 1 that killed me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Understandable.
Yep.
I assume it's bad.
It's so bad. Yeah, so 100% recommend that game. It is so good.
What was the name of that game again?
Guardian Tales.
Gotcha.
It is a mobile game, and it is on Switch as well. Apparently.
Yeah, I forgot about that. They actually it's I believe it's originally a Korean game.
Yeah.
Which it got a Japanese version as well, which actually gave all of the characters Japanese art. So you can swap between the original Korean art and the Japanese art for every character that's available for.
Yep.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
You'll notice that the girls just have bigger tits that are out in the Japanese version.
I mean, culture.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I like a lot of what they do in terms of the story, in terms of the gameplay, in terms of adding more and more new game modes.
Mm.
They're very receptive to feedback. They actually put in a lot of so there's a lot of costumes for the sprites. A lot of those are fan submitted costumes, and those always cost like 300 gems. Like the cheapest costumes you can get are always the fan submitted ones.
Oh,
And
okay.
they're very
I really
receptive
like
to
that
the
actually.
community.
What is that in like money?
That's a single pull worth.
300 gems is like to put actual dollars to it. I think that's like a dollar, maybe two, something like that. It's really not much.
And the
Yeah,
game,
it's not bad at all.
and the game weekly gives you out a ton of free gems for doing like the
Just
Coliseum
playing the
mode.
game and doing the regular
playing the
stuff
game.
that it expects you to do. Yeah,
Yeah, so you have more than enough to buy those costumes typically.
it's a really good experience. I 100% recommend it.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I did was install Final Fantasy 14 again.
Yay.
To explain the reason for it, I watched the cinematic trailers. I watched several reactions to the cinematic trailers. I watched a lot of Asmongold's content talking about the game from 2 years ago when the mass exodus happened. I'm not exactly a fan of his in general because, you know, he's a fucking WoW streamer, like I give a shit. But yeah, it was actually some really insightful videos talking about the differences between what WoW has become and what Final Fantasy has become. 14 has become, rather. And yeah, it got me interested in starting it up again. And so I have. And I have a new character named Casey Flux, naturally, because it's me. And I have started again on the European server. I am told that I have conflicting information on this because I have heard that transferring servers is actually really fucking hard. But on the other hand, I've also heard you can sort of just temporarily visit other servers.
You can temporarily visit any server you want. Transferring servers, I'm not sure about the process for that. I know you can do world transfers. I think it costs money.
Yeah, like the permanent transfer is a money thing, and you have to make sure you don't have anything left over that connects you to the world you're on, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
it's like a laborious process, but you can just sort of do a temporary thing where, you know.
Yeah, so you can temporarily. Because I was recently added the ability to just jump between data centers like that. Because previously it was just, you know, jumping between worlds, but data center transfer is up, so like I can just, it'll take like less than 5 minutes for me to jump over to your world and pop it and do stuff. And if not, we can also do cross world parties, which means I don't have to jump over to your world to play with you for content and stuff.
That's really nice. I appreciate that because, you know, it feels rude to play on an American server when I'm not in America. Just makes things difficult for everyone for a feature that, generally speaking, I'm probably not going to use all that much. I'm not going to do much multiplayer stuff in this multiplayer game.
The ability to visit short term, though, sounds pretty great for you, then.
Yeah. I know that me and Fresh are on the same server thing.
Yeah.
Not the same world, but the same data center.
Yeah. I mean, America, yes.
So, yeah. There's that.
Oh, wait, no, there's like 4 for America. Yeah, you're right.
I was going to say, most MMOs have, even if it's the same country, they have different servers.
So, yeah. How are you liking it?
I mean, I'm doing all the stuff that I did like 4 years ago, so it's not really anything new yet. So, and I am once again swamped with work. Until I get out from under that, I can't really play as much. So, hopefully, just sort of a couple of days work, and I might be able to get some time in on it again. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure if you ever need a party for anything, you just hit us up.
Yeah.
And we can jump in and join you.
And it can do like level sync and stuff like that, so it's not just like, hey, look at all these level 90s that are just curb stomping everything. And
well, they automatically level sync when you go into dungeons.
Yeah.
The other thing is that's an optional thing is the eye level sync, which changes the item level to be, or rather, min eye level, which makes you at the bare minimum requirements to enter into that content if you want to do it like hard mode.
Yeah, that sounds like a thing I'm not doing at any point ever. I am not the hardcore type. That is not me. I do not do.
Mm-hmm.
I do not do intentionally super hard bullshit. In terms of multiplayer, I would never even consider it.
And likewise, once you are like level 90 or whatever, you can unsync certain content and go in as your full power and just blast apart early game content for getting anything that you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear there is a big event coming up that is basically, hey, let's celebrate the upcoming patch and give a bunch of mounts and stuff. And I'm probably not going to be capable of getting to the point where I can do that stuff because it's all like level 50 at minimum.
Yeah, they have the Mog Tomes stuff.
Yeah. So, but you know, that's stuff that, you know, it's fine for people that can have that. I'm not getting.
There is another event they are launching at the same time, which will give you a very cool Phoenix, and you only have to be level 15 to do it.
Oh, cool!
I'll actually. Phoenix. Here's a picture of the Phoenix and the art that you can get.
Ooh, it's a white Phoenix, kind of.
Yeah. So that's like they'll do like the some stuff that's like you gotta be more into it, but then they also do this stuff.
Yeah.
Which they recently just did the freaking tokusatsu, get your freaking tokusatsu costume for summer.
Tokusatsu.
Just like a
Power Rangers for summer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Weird.
It was a very funny event.
I look forward to maxing all of the crafting classes.
Oh.
Yeah.
You'll be very rich.
Maybe
I
can buy a
take
house.
some time. It'll take some time, though.
Yeah, I mean, I like the mini games that I played, so it's cool. Patient, how's it going? How you doing?
Well enough. The past few days have been a bit tedious, just because when you get used to being on your computer so much, when you have to turn it in for a week to get it repaired, that can be a little bit hard to get used to put it mildly.
Yeah, I've been there.
I wonder if there's anything new on YouTube. Oh. Maybe I could play some... Oh.
I mean, I still have my phone, and I still have my Switch and my PlayStation 5 and several other game consoles, so I'm not cut off from technology.
Yeah.
Also, since the last time we met, I have gone into unemployment thanks to my branch shutting down, and I have yet to make it past the interview stage. But I'm getting plenty of opportunities, lots of companies reaching out for me with 5 years of experience, plus I'm brushing up on my Spanish skills, so being bilingual will help me get hired as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So just taking things a bit at a time, and I've still got another month's worth of paychecks before I start bleeding out with no income. So here's hoping that things will turn around soon. The job search has been the main focus of the past few days, the past few weeks for me. Nothing else too noteworthy going on, just enjoying the time off, enjoying being able to wake up in the morning and just take my sweet time resting until I feel up to getting up. And then just enjoying the day as much as I can.
That sort of rest is very important.
Yes, as has been hammered home to me several times over the past year. I need to get a job, but I need to take all the advantage that I can of the period where I don't have one so that I can be properly rested and relaxed and just mentally stable when I go into the next job.
Oh, yeah.
Beyond that, I've been helping with some writing with just others. I'm still... maybe one of these days I'll publish an original work. I've got an idea for a book series in mind now, though it's going to be exceptionally difficult to execute. I can't say more than that, but we'll see how it goes. In any case, I'm not planning on writing that until I get another job. Once I do, though, a close friend of mine, more like a big sister than anything, is going to be prodding me to give it a try. So we'll see how that goes.
Original
I hope
works
it goes well.
are rough but rewarding. But
Yeah.
rough but rewarding.
Rewarding is the key point there.
Yeah.
Yes. You've just got to be persistent, diligent, and patient.
Yeah. I feel like one of the big challenges of writing something original that I found when I was doing it, like I've written a couple that had good ideas but didn't. One of the things that I found is iterating on that idea over and over again, drafting over and over, and figuring out all the things that are just sort of a bit wonky. It's a lot easier for a story to go a little skew-if, a little odd, because of the lack of roadmap. Like, you write fan fiction, that is the one big thing of fan fiction, is you have a roadmap. You have a lot of points that you can latch onto and you can work towards. But
Precisely.
for an original work, all of it has to come from you. You have to understand each part of where you're planning to go and what you're planning to do with the story and what the intention of the story is in the first place. And it is a lot more involved of a process to actually make something that's coherent and interesting throughout. And it takes rewrites. It absolutely takes rewrites. Whereas fan fiction, not so much.
Quite
You can just
so.
kind of default to the canon when you run out of ideas, at least for a little while.
Yeah.
Well, in this instance, I'm not going to go too far into the story that I have planned, but I do have several sections lined out of it.
That's good.
To put it one way, this guy comes across a problem that he has to fix, but he has to tackle it in very separate steps in order to make it happen. He has to dedicate all of his attention to one particular part of it, and only when that part is completely finished can he move on to the next one. So it's just going to be something like that. I can't. It sounds kind of bland when I put it that way, but
You try
I'm
not
not
to
about to
actually
just.
say what's going on in the whole thing, so,
Yeah. But yeah, writing, relaxing, and job hunting, that's pretty much been the gist of the past few weeks for me. And yeah, it's been pleasant. Oh, and seeing as how we haven't met since then, let's spend a few minutes talking about the Pokemon Presents.
It happened.
I didn't see it.
It happened. There you go.
They showed off a bunch of mobile stuff and then said, "Hey, remember the DLC's coming out."
Yeah, unfortunately, there wasn't too much announced that was particularly interesting. For me, at least, there was a notable exception in the fact that Pokemon Stadium 2 finally came out. I have been thoroughly enjoying that.
Oh.
Yep, that was a nice thing. Glad they did that. I like Stadium 2 a lot. It's just, oh my gosh. It is pretty exhausting when it's like, and here's all of our mobile games that you don't play that we're releasing stuff for.
I
And
we got Scarlet and Violet last year. It's not going to be a banner year for Pokemon. It's just not.
yeah, I mean,
Was it last
I
year? Was it a fucking year ago?
I don't know. Time is weird.
Yeah.
It was last year, yeah.
Okay.
It was late last year.
Yeah.
Also, Pokemon seems to be suggesting something with the names of their apps. Go home and sleep.
Yeah. Go home and sleep.
And Master Sex.
and go home and sleep and master sex.
Yep.
I regret saying anything.
Yeah, no, it's I look at the DLC and I'm like, I'm not even sure how much I care.
Now, see, I'm actually interested because from the latest trailer, it looks like they might be going. I mean, just for the teal mask part, it looks like they might be going the Majora angle on this.
That would be interesting. I'm just admittedly somewhat worried because everything they have done with Scarlet and Violet has been completely broken on release.
Yeah.
There's still significant issues with Scarlet and Violet that need to be fixed. And when they brought Pokemon Home compatibility, that was broken as well.
That's fair. I mean, Zom just started playing it for the first time. He started playing Violet a couple of weeks ago, and he said it is astonishing how not good it is. So.
Yeah, that is accurate. It is unfortunate because I actually really like where the story goes. I like the gameplay in terms of like how they balance the battles and everything.
It is a weird thing of it being good and also not good.
The gameplay, the stories, and the characters, fantastic. Knocked it out of the park. Best yet. The new Pokemon, well, you've got some.
I get a future Dragon Bike. It's fine.
Yeah, there's some I really like. I'm not bothered that much.
Yeah, fair enough. It's just with the fact that the core game mechanics are this messed up, it's always going to be tarnished.
It's genuinely frustrating because literally franchise makes the most money in the world, and
it could do with a cyberpunkening, and it's not going to get it.
Yeah.
I recall one YouTuber talking about this. There is no excuse for it to be this broken when they're the most profitable video game franchise on the planet. Number 3 most profitable franchise, period, behind Mickey Mouse and Winnie the Pooh, I believe.
Actually, if we're talking about media franchises, they are not number 3. They are number 1.
Yeah.
Well, this was in January, so maybe it's...
According to what I had seen, highest grossing media franchises specifically,
Yep.
The total revenue that Pokemon has generated is 88 billion. Mickey Mouse has gone 52.2 billion.
Yep. It's not even close.
Yep.
Maybe I misread it, or maybe the data was outdated. I'll have to give it another look later.
But they have gotten so much money, most of it from licensed merchandise, of course.
Cards.
In fact,
the toys.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that seems to be where they're putting it. They're focusing on, to use a gardening metaphor, they're focusing too much on giving out the fruits and not enough on sowing the seeds from the harvest back into the garden to make the next one even bigger.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It
could be argued that Pokemon has sort of outgrown the games on a certain level.
Yes.
But on the other hand, well, it's outgrown the let's call them retail games, because the fucking mobile stuff is still enormous, and
and Legends Arceus was great.
It was, yeah, definitely a breath of fresh air. Oh boy. But yeah, there is so much Pokemon stuff out there that has nothing to do with the mainline games that they seem almost like an afterthought, and they kind of feel like they're being treated as an afterthought at the same time. So that's
you wouldn't know
a
that
shame.
based on how they're focusing on them so much with the Pokemon Presents these days.
I mean, that's what it is. It's Pokemon Presents is basically for video games. It's not really for the toys as much. Like, there are so many fucking toys out there for Pokemon. It is insane. But, that's not what the presentation is for. Kind of thing.
Yeah. You are right, though. Pokemon has used the same formula for 9 generations now, and they're only managing to keep it fresh with some of the changes that they implemented in Scarlet and Violet. Just here's the same plot line, tackle it in any order you want. Also, here's 2 more things that you can do at the same time. So they're
diversifying their plots a little bit instead of just reinventing and doing something completely different.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
I saw a video that recently talked about, the thoughts that, they're not going to learn anything from, these games because people keep buying it. And the answer to that is, well, yes, Pokemon is still selling a lot. It is not selling as much as it should, comparatively to other franchises.
Yeah.
In fact, like say, Sword and Shield sold 25 million copies. Scarlet and Violet sold 22 million copies. On the Switch, those Switch games are, in every other franchise, is like the best selling game in the franchise, the Switch version. And Pokemon has still never outsold Red, Green, and Blue.
That, I will admit, is kind of surprising. I mean, yes, it was the number 1, but they've never outsold the first and buggiest games in the franchise.
Well,
Yep.
Red and Blue. Let's just call it Red and Blue. That they were the big inception point of Pokemon as a franchise. Like, that was the big moment, and then it got more big moments that reinforced just how big those games got. Like, you had the games that were huge first. Then you got the anime, and the films, and the trading cards, and the toys, and you just had that piling on top of itself and on top of itself. And that game benefited so much from all of that being stacked on top of it that, yeah, it was going to be the biggest thing in the fucking world. And then everything that comes after that is just sort of trying to recapture that, because all of those things that made that first generation so big, all those things already exist. You can't suddenly recreate them over and over again. The last time we got something that was on a similar level was probably Pokemon Go.
Yep. For reference, I'm getting the sales numbers from VG sales, video game sales wiki. So they sold, with the original Red, Green, Blue, according to this, 31 million copies. That number's not insane to beat. I mean, Breath of the Wild beat that with 32 million. But Pokemon just has struggled because it's just the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It being the same thing is fine. Like I say, like Sword and Shield was exactly the same fucking thing, and it was just generic in those terms of it felt just very rote and redone of everything that's come before, which
It's also just not done well. Like, they all have problems with them.
yeah, kind of. I would say Sword and Shield, in terms of just iterating on what already came before, is probably exactly what it was supposed to be. It was fine. There was nothing especially wrong with it. It was just the thing we've seen 1,000 times before, which, in fairness, came after Gen 7, where they tried to reinvent and do something different, and to questionable results.
Same as they did in Gen 5, which nowadays is looked back on as perhaps, well, some of the greatest. But
Gen 5 didn't really reinvent anything. All Gen 5 did was try and recapture Gen 1 of, hey, you can only get the new Pokemon. That's it. That was the one big thing for Gen 5, and people didn't like that. It was fine in hindsight, but people didn't like it. But other than that, it was all just the same game again.
A big reason why Sword and Shield initially sold so well was because it was hyped up to be, okay, this is the real one on Switch, the real 3D experience, the real one where you can actually rotate the camera and move it around.
Yeah,
and we have these, and so there was so much publicity from that, which is why there was so much blowback when it was much more limited than it was, and it was buggier, it was less quality textures and everything.
It was just all of how the early generations were just kind of like, even through Gen 6 and 7, it was all very, very simple and basic in terms of how it looked. They've never pushed the boat out in terms of visuals. That has never been their concern. They were still doing fucking tile gameplay movement and into like Gen 6. Did Gen 6 have that? I know Gen 5 did.
I'm pretty sure Gen 6 had it.
Yeah. So that's how they've been doing things for so long. They don't take chances unless they feel like they need to take chances, which was what Gen 7 was and didn't work out. Gen 8 was just, okay, let's just do the same thing everyone else does, but cheaper.
Why do you say Gen 7 didn't work out?
Gen 7 is the weird one where people just kind of, it's hard to recognize it as a Pokemon game almost.
Sales-wise, it only did slightly worse than 6 though, and did better, and both 6 and 7 did better than 5.
Yeah, I mean, okay, admittedly there's some personal bias here, but at the same time, it was a weird thing, and I feel like if they continued on that path, it would not have done them any favors. I think Pokemon does benefit from the structure of how the series goes in terms of like 1 through 6 and then 8 and 9 of like, yeah, you are trying to be the very best like no one ever was. You got to fight all the best trainers, and then you fight the best trainers, and then you become the champion. That's some good structure for this that is basically Tournament Anime, the video game. It just kind of works. That's a really good setup for how this sort of thing should go. So I feel like if they continue with Gen 7, where it wasn't really that, it was sort of more of a Gen 7's plot was weird. Like, I'm just gonna say that, of just the structure of, okay, go to these islands and face the challenge of the mythical. It's not mythical, but like sort of just the tribal icon kind of Pokemon thing.
It's interesting because I heard a lot of people praising Gen 7 because of how different it was and because of the story.
Yeah, I don't know. In terms of like, sometimes people make mistake different for good, which, you know, after 6 gens of it doing the same thing and just kind of following the same formula, which I say it enjoys the structure. That's a good structure for it to have, but you can just sort of like mix it up in terms of that structure. That's fine. But like, I feel like if they had just completely abandoned that structure and just continued trying to do the weird oddity of 7 and just do something along those lines, it would suffer from not having the structure of, hey, you really set up the Pokemon thing as like competition. That's the bones of the setting, and 7 kind of wasn't about that.
What they need is a way to expand on the existing structure, not overhaul it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so 7 was different, and people wanted something different because it had been exactly the same for 6 games. More than 6 if you want to include the re-release versions and such. And then you got 8 that came back and did exactly the same as what 6 did. Like, exactly. And didn't really iterate on it in any meaningful way. It's just that again, which, okay, I mean, we like that. That's a good formula. That's a good structure. But we could still do something interesting in that.
I have a lot of problems with Sword and Shield in terms of its narrative.
Yeah.
And like Pokemon narratives usually aren't that like complicated, right? They're not like high quality or whatever. But it's probably the most kind of rushed and stupid final encounter, final boss, everything with that.
The story structure is just safe.
No, it's legitimately stupid. The entire reason why the final encounter happens is because one guy couldn't wait one day to stop an apocalypse that's going to happen 10,000 years in the future.
Yeah, I try to defend things that I like to the best of my abilities, try to find X reason for Y plot, and just figure out why it makes sense. And the only thing worse in that game than the plot line with President Rose, though his battle music was epic, no denying
it's
that.
It's epic for no reason.
Yeah.
That's the best kind of music.
There's legitimately no reason. He's not set up at all.
I mean, I remember Mad Dummy from Undertale. That was fucking good music. That slapped.
Like I was saying, though, the only thing worse than that was that whole side plot with Swordward and Shieldbert. Seriously, what are those names?
Their hair's styled like a sword and a shield. They just kind of show up.
And just for some reason, they're indignant about how history is being changed to what it's supposed to be, and they're indignant about that, so they're trying this convoluted plot that's... I mean, I, I don't know. I don't know. I
What I
enjoyed.
would have liked to see from the plot of Sword and Shield was they leaned pretty fucking hard on that whole sports aesthetic. They
Yeah,
did the fucking stadiums. They had chants going as part of the battle music. They went hard on that. The champion has fucking a coat with all of his sponsors on it. If they leaned into that side of it and made the story part of that, I think that would have been really interesting. Of just have it
I
like
agree.
a rising sports star kind of thing. I
That would have
think,
been cool.
yeah, that would have
Yes.
been a really unique spin on the established structure of the Pokemon series. But no, we gotta have the great legends and portents and prophecies and such. We gotta. That's
You know, a funny thing. Generation 1 and Generation 2 even did not have a story focused on the legendaries.
yeah. No, it was criminals. It was just criminals being criminals.
And like something I really like about Scarlet and Violet is that the legendaries are not it makes sense why the legendary is there, and it's not like there's legends about them or anything. It's just
They're just kind of here,
they're
hanging
just
out.
kind of there. They're a
And I,
stronger version of something that currently exists in your time.
and I do appreciate being able to spend the game with the legendary. I mean, you spend the game growing close to your team, watching them grow, and so there's some kind of relationship with them. When you get to the legendaries at the end of it, there's nothing left to do. They're just trophies. So I prefer the formula where you get to bond with the legendary as the game goes, like they did in Sun and Moon, like they did in Oras with Latios or Latias, and like they did here with Koraidon and Miraidon.
That might be my big problem with 7, personally, is it completely scrapped the, sports competition thing of Pokemon that the entire thing is based on, and just went all in on the legendary, like, secret super Pokemon just sort of being there, and you need to go and deal with those. That's the important thing. That's the thing that matters. You get their approval
And we had
stuff.
Team Skull and the Aether Paradise staff who Team Skull was too underdeveloped, too comical of villains, and then the Aether Paradise was just not quite bad enough, if that makes sense.
So yeah, and then you've got Scarlet and Violet that is broken.
Casey?
Hmm? Yes. Hello. Ah, crap! Are we doing this again? Discord. Can you hear me?
Testing.
I can hear you. I have to go for.
Yeah.
I'm being called down. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you've got Scarlet and Violet that are doing everything. It seems like kind of a little bit of just sort of we have the competition plotline, which is pretty solid as far as I understand. We have the criminal team plotline, kind of. They're a little weak sauce by comparison to some of the older ones, but that's perfectly fine. Like we've had world ending plots of the teams for so fucking long. And then you've got the third one that is just kind of nice.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
that's just kind of a nice, sweet plot line of just like a very personal story, and it's very nice to have that. So yeah, aside from the game being broken and feeling a little underbaked. Like,
Yeah,
that's pretty much the only problem.
Yes, it is the only problem with it. If they had taken their time and released it a few months later, this would be one of the best. I mean, it still is, but it would be undeniably one of the best Pokemon games ever released. I mean, I suppose it still is, but it's just got this one really, really glaring problem to it.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying it long before the game even came out. Like, Legend Arceus came out in January, and this game released in what, September?
Yeah, something. Yeah. We could have waited another year.
There was no reason to do that then. Unless they wanted to do the old school video game thing of we have to hit the holiday window. Nobody fucking cares anymore. Like, it's a Pokemon game. Kids would demand it, Christmas or not. Who gives a shit? Oh well. Missed opportunities. Slicer, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah!
My mic working now too?
Sorry, what?
Is my mic working now too?
Yes.
In the middle of that weird Discord meltdown, my mic wasn't working at all.
Yeah, you're good.
Sweet.
Patient, did you have anything else? I don't want to cut you off accidentally.
I appreciate the consideration, but no, I'm pretty much nothing else to say.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Slicer.
Yeah, so I've been watching anime this week. I've kind of been forced to bedtime on work days, so I take some Benadryl at 10. Makes me drowsy. I usually go to bed by 11, 11:15, something like that. So in that hour, I'm just trying to lay in bed and relaxing. I've just been watching anime. So I've watched Zom 100 and One Room Hero, both of which are fantastic. I don't know if you guys have read the manga or seen those.
Never even heard of them.
Oh, fair. Zom 100 is actually like the subtitle is Bucket List of the Dead. So a black company employee is basically a living zombie, and then the apocalypse happens, and he's very happy about it because
okay.
Yeah, because life is so much better now that the world is over, and he doesn't have to go to work.
Yeah, I might have actually heard of that, but I have not realized the name.
And I think by episode 3, he makes the titular list. He just has a journal of like 100+ things he wants to do before he dies, and it's just like a lighthearted take on zombie apocalypse, and it's really good.
You know, that does sound fun.
It's really funny because like every once in a while they'll have a couple minutes of a cut to like just down the street where like, oh no, there's 30 people holed up in this gentleman's club and they're all trying to fight for survival, and the main character just blasts through on a Harley just laughing because he finally gets to ride a motorcycle.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
There's a trope for this.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's many.
It's called Screw the Rules, it's the apocalypse.
Oh yeah, that's fair. That works.
I mean, that's usually referring to something very different, but yes, it applies.
Yeah.
And One Room Hero, the full title is I actually forget. Demon Lord and the One Room Hero, I think. So the hero defeats the Demon King. 10 years pass by. The Demon King revives as this like level 1 imp thing, and then tries to find the hero that's non-binary character. Actually, she can be he or she depending on what form they take. And the hero is a deadbeat who just lives in a tiny apartment because his fame came crashing down. And what happens to all celebrities happened to the hero, where either he did or didn't do bad things, but either way, he is publicly shamed and shunned. So it's interesting that it's really good, actually. The hero is very jaded, but still has a lot of heart. It's very funny. The Demon Lord character, whose name I actually forget, it's been a while. It's been a couple weeks since I've seen it, but has a really fun personality. It's very nice.
I'm vaguely reminded of that one show about the hero does the whole fighting the Demon King thing, and then they are the most powerful thing ever, and just kind of gets sick of everything going on, just quits, and decides to join the Demon Lord.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a couple of them like that actually.
Yeah.
I think there's one this season actually.
I would really like to be done with the Demon Lord trope, but you know,
Yeah,
kids grew up on fucking Dragon Quest. They'll fucking do that same story. It's fine.
It would be nice to have a different, villain that the generic RPG isekai protagonists are going after.
I would also like My Hero Academia to stop calling the main villain the Demon Lord, but that's an entirely different discussion.
Is that a what?
Yeah, that's a thing.
Why are they calling him? Wait.
Because he was inspired by a comic book.
He calls himself that because he's a chuny little shit, but, okay, he's a chuny little shit, his little protege is also a chuny little shit, they're made for each other, but,
It's true.
Yeah, I don't like that everyone else is buying into it, it's really dumb, and everyone should be taking the piss out of him for being such a chuny little wankfest, but, yeah.
Yep. Try doing that when you're staring death in the face.
It's surprisingly easy, actually.
That's literally their job. They're gonna die either way, so fuck it.
I mean that sums up the whole of My Hero Academia. Is just stop taking Tamura so seriously. He's not worth it. Just stop. Just make fun of him. He's dumb.
Anyway, yes, the fucking anime with Imp, Demon Lord, and such. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sidetracked.
So Demon Lord One Room Hero, very fun. Fully recommend it. I've also because I don't own a PC that can play games, I'm kind of limited to console. I couldn't get Baldur's Gate 3 because that's still delayed until I think like 2 weeks from now for me on the PS5.
Would be good to iron out those controller issues Zero talked about. So yeah, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. So hearing a lot of the things, I'm actually kind of glad that I can't play it yet because that would really hamper enjoyment of the game, which sounds stellar, but it's got some problems.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I actually wound up getting Remnant 2 from the Ashes. I don't know if the subtitle is still From the Ashes, but whatever, Remnant 2. Yeah, man, that game is not built for single player. It's like the first one, but worse in that respect.
I'm not familiar. Is that a Diablo like?
It's the one that people were calling Dark Souls with guns.
Oh,
if that narrows it down any at all. Yeah. Third-person shooter. The main villain is a faction of tree root creatures called the Root. You find a world stone. You can go to different realms and try and fight the Root because every realm has its own guardian and keeps every realm safe. And yeah, when the guardian dies, the Root comes in and things go bad.
Is this the one where the devs was seeing people complaining about how Apocalypse difficulty is too hard, and they basically said, "You chose Apocalypse difficulty, you twat waffle. This is you. This is on you."
I wouldn't be surprised if it was. They don't seem big on lowering the difficulty. And the hardest mode is called Apocalyptic, so.
Yeah, so that's probably the right one.
Yeah. At least easy mode is the lowest difficulty setting is single player friendly, even if it is a little easy on single player. I wish there was like a
middle ground, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere between easy and normal would be perfect, but
or that it would just balance differently if you're on single player.
That would be even better. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's you find a number of traits by just doing quests or little odd things, like you kill 100 people with 10 different weapons and you get a trait that lets you switch weapons faster, kind of deal. But you're limited to 65 trait points, and every trait can take up to 10 points. Every point giving you a progressively more powerful boost in that, whatever that is. So there's no reason for you to be limited by trait points. There's no reason for that, but you can only have 65. It's dumb. But that's to balance the multiplayer.
It's a very sort of limited build to force you down certain paths and completely ignore others, then, I guess.
Yep. Yep. Granted, this is a game where you can respec your character in maybe a couple minutes for largely free, using resources that you already have plenty of by the time you would respec. But still, it is irritating that you can't just choose single player and that rebalances your game in certain ways, and then you could just play.
Yeah. I just remembered that you said you don't have a gaming PC, so I was gonna say something mods can remove the cap, but yeah.
I wish if I did have a computer and I mean I bought the game already. I'm okay pirating it if I owned it already.
What was it? Revenant or Remnant?
Remnant 2 from the Ashes. I mean, I gotta stop saying from the Ashes. That's not the subtitle.
Remnant 2. Oh god, the last Remnant. I forgot that game existed.
Yeah. And I keep bouncing off that game, and it's not my fault. The game bounces me off of it because it's so aggressively anti-grind.
Trait cap increase. There it is. Number 6 in the top mods.
Well, I'm so curious. What are the top 5?
The top 5 are allow asset mods. So a functional thing just to make mods work better. Save with all items. So a save game sounds like.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Free archetype unlocks.
That makes sense.
Graphics editor performance boost. Disables post processing. And remove the checkpoint flashbang.
Yeah. Every time you sit at a world stone, the world turns white, and it is aggressive. So that makes sense.
And then number 7 is craft everything.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trait systems where you can hunt them down and try to find them through unique things, that also works for the classes. You can only start with 3 classes, 1 of 3. And you have to hunt down the rest, and there's like 15 of them.
The Dragon Age method.
Yeah. Thankfully, they're unlocked forever, though. So if you want to make a new character and you want to start as something else, you absolutely can. But this is a game where you can swap out your class, and you can have 2 classes active at any given time. So, yeah. It's very fluid, but it has issues due to the balancing. But yeah, so I've been enjoying that. It's a fun game, but man, it would be way better if I just had other people to play with, or I would rather just be a functional single player game. But there's that. Have either of you two seen Sandman on Netflix?
No,
it's a DC series.
I do not have.
I haven't
Netflix.
watched much on Netflix recently.
That's fair. The one thing I did want to talk about the show is it's about the Sandman character from DC, the Lord of Dreams and Nightmares / Nightmares, whatever. They tried to go for like one of the Endless. They tried to go for like a thing where the main character is a cardboard cutout essentially, and then everyone else is more interesting, and the main character's arc is to be a functional person. And they did it too hard. The main character is just never likable, ever.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a 10-episode series plus 1 bonus episode. That's more of an anthology thing. The 11th episode is unrelated but fun. But yeah, it's just Dream is never not a weirdo, and not an eccentric, likable one either.
It's interesting in terms of like the writing challenge of making a character that is uninteresting, but because of that can be interesting. It's an odd sort of. They should have hired a light novel writer.
True. Worth a try. If you can make your fans like your milquetoast MC, then yeah, you've succeeded. But yeah, that's as far as I know. That's everything I've done, unless something is escaping my mind. I also changed my oil and my air filter and a bunch of stuff in my car, so I feel nice and mature today. Always feels nice to do those things myself.
Getting things done.
Woo! Productivity.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I'm on mandatory overtime for the next 4 Saturdays.
Ooh.
One of my coworkers offered to take one of them because it's holiday week and I like to go back to Iowa. So that's nice. But, yep. So there's my next 3 of 4 Saturdays.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it sucks. Get overtime pay, though. So there's that. I can about 30 times 8. Yeah. $240 a day before tax. So that's not bad.
Yeah. Money.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me.
Cool. We should be doing the Patreon, but the guy that knows the Patreon isn't here.
Yeah.
So,
We probably should have done it at the top of the episode now that I think about it.
whoops. Yeah, we totally knew this was coming, but
We're professionals that have been doing this for almost a decade.
don't. Literally next month. Ooh. Okay, so that's sobering thought. I was 24 when we started this. Oh shit. Yep. Okay, so on that sobering thought, the Patreon link in the description. Not that we do the fucking rewards because we're shit, apparently. Discord link in the description.
People usually don't cash them out. Like,
That's fair.
we got a bunch of people that can be on anytime they want.
But bye everybody.
See you guys.
Or maybe not, depending.
Weirdly ominous sort of comment there. Like, what? Okay. Bye everybody.